Imagine a nation being digitally excised from the world. This isn't science fiction. It's the 2026 reality of Iran. We are currently monitoring a self-imposed digital iron curtain. Welcome to the AI Central Processing Unit. Today, we aren't just analyzing an internet blackout. We are deconstructing a cold, calculated digital eclipse. At the dawn of 2026, the Islamic Republic of Iran plunged into its most severe existential crisis since the 1979 revolution. Fueled by a perfect storm of economic collapse, geopolitical military setbacks, and a looming leadership succession crisis. The hallmark of this turmoil occurred on January 8, 2026, when authorities implemented an unprecedented nationwide internet shutdown, an extreme measure dubbed by observers as a digital eclipse. Far from a mere technical glitch, this was a calculated signal that Iranian security apparatus had officially activated a systematic suppression protocol, blackout, followed by crackdown. This report provides an in-depth dissection of this emergent failure mode of a modern state, an authoritarian regime forced into an act of digital self-mutilation to ensure survival, creating a fatal feedback loop of economic ruin and political insolvency. To understand why the Iranian authorities would risk crippling their own economy through extreme network suppression, one must first examine the systemic pressures they face. This section analyzes the deep-seated economic and political roots of the 2026 mass protests, arguing that this Ninghuaiwan storm was not an accident, but the inevitable result of converging crises. By early 2026, Iran's macroeconomy had reached a catastrophic state. The Rial collapsed on the free market, plummeting to a historic low of 1.47 million IRR to $1. This evaporation of currency value ignited hyperinflation. While the official consumer price index stood out 48.6%, food inflation, the metric tied to basic survival, surged to a staggering 75.4%. To fill the fiscal black hole caused by the snapback of international sanctions, the government initiated aggressive shock therapy. This included the removal of subsidized exchange rates for essential goods like rice and medicine, and the introduction of a tiered gasoline pricing system. These measures pushed the working class into a profound survival crisis, serving as the direct fuse for the uprising. Compounding the economic misery were two factors eroding the regime's legitimacy and deterrence. First, persistent rumors of Supreme Leader Khamenei's deteriorating health shook the foundations of the system. Second, the lingering sense of military failure from the 2025 12-day war caused a massive psychological shock to the national psyche. What began as a strike by merchants in Tehran's Grand Bazaar over exchange rate volatility rapidly mutated. Within 10 days, demonstrations spread across all 31 provinces. Slogans shifted from economic grievances to direct attacks on the supreme leader, with explicit calls for the restoration of the monarchy or the establishment republic, a total rejection of the status quo. Blackout, then crackdown, is more than a bitter lesson learned by protesters. It is now the standard operating procedure for Iranian security forces. The January 8th action represented a historical peak in scale and precision. Iron Curtain, the shutdown demonstrated a high level of professional coordination across two layers. Protocol-level isolation. Rather than simply unplugging the cables, authorities manipulated the border gateway protocol. National telecom entities simultaneously withdrew their IP address space, effectively making Iran's autonomous systems vanish from the global internet routing map. Cloudflare data showed a 98.5% drop in IPv6 adverse relations, proving the operation's high degree of synchronization. Phased suppression and throttling. Before the total cutoff, authorities used bandwidth throttling to create a zombie connection state. Users appeared online, and VPNs seemed to connect, but no effective data could be transmitted. This was designed to systematically dismount the will to resist by inducing profound frustration. Severing coordination momentum. The blackout coincided with calls from exiled Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi for nationwide rallies. The primary goal was to paralyze real-time logistics and site verification among protesters, creating an information vacuum for impunity. The core objective was to create an accountability exemption period for security forces using live ammunition. By preventing the real-time upload of footage documenting the carnage, the state sought to seize control of the narrative. The production of loneliness. Digital isolation is a potent psychological weapon. By inducing a sense of abandonment, the state raises the threshold for individual resistance. Without confirmation that nearby neighborhoods are still fighting, the courage to stay on the streets dwindles. Unlike previous waves, the 2026 protesters show remarkable resilience. Data suggests at least 116 protests occur within the 24 hours following the blackout, proving that when the motivation shifts to regime change, communication cutoffs can no longer dampen the fire. Financial paralysis and bank runs. The inability to use mobile payments triggered a total collapse in financial confidence. Bank Mali, the nation's largest commercial bank, was forced to close after depleting its cash reserves. The destruction of digital livelihoods. Iran's digital economy, once a pride of the state, was reduced to zero. Platforms like Snap, with 9 million daily users, went dark. Over 10 million Iranians saw their livelihoods evaporate overnight. Collapse of the tech ecosystem. The Tehran tech hub lost billions in potential investment. Experts predict a sharp contraction of the tech sector in 2026, leading to a massive brain drain of technical talent. Starlink as a lifeline. Despite strict bans, Starlink terminals became the only reliable window for protesters to send footage abroad, especially in rural areas where government jammers were less effective. Offline mesh communication. Protesters utilized P2P apps like BridgeFi and Rial for tactical battlefield command without internet access. The offline value stream. Technicians used dark wire tools to broadcast Bitcoin transaction data via long-range radio, shifting digital resistance from information to the economic sphere. Whitelisting jailbreaks. Specialized geeks discovered whitelisted bandwidth reserved for high-level officials and successfully tunneled encrypted traffic through these restricted exits. The true strength lay in Iran's human verification system. Using tight-knit family networks and landlines, citizens cross-verified information to counter state propaganda, maintaining a basic consensus of facts through strong social bonds. The modernization trap. Iran reveals a paradox of digital authoritarianism. The technology built for survival eventually creates the tools for subversion. When contradictions peak, the regime is forced into digital self-harm to maintain order. Resilience design for critical infrastructure. The bank runs emphasize the need for decentralized operational capabilities, such as offline payment and local medical data access, to prevent total societal collapse during network outages. Sovereignty. From physical to protocol borders, digital defense has shifted from physical disconnection to complex routing wars. Mastering the full stack from chips to BGP protocols, is now a core strategic asset. Cognitive resistance. Iran's experience shows that maintaining social consensus through physical communities is more vital than mere bandwidth. A digital society must have a human mesh to prevent psychological collapse during digital isolation. As of January 10th, 2026, the situation remains a dangerous standoff. The state has bought time with a digital eclipse, but the cost, economic hemorrhaging, and crumbling security morale is reaching its limit. Two potential trajectories. Total militarization, a permanent, isolated digital North Korea state under the IRGC, sacrificing development for regime survival. Systemic structural collapse. The economic drain renders the suppression machine unsustainable, leading to the disintegration of security forces and the total collapse of the old order. The global lesson is clear. In an age of total digital dependency, digital rights are survival rights. The true stability of a society lies not in its ability to control information, but in its underlying resilience to maintain operation and consensus when the lights go out.